you think was about saving face as well? Because the ACC looks like guys who they're holding schools hostage, and after a while, I don't care what a contract says, you begin to look really, really bad, and you become a bad guy. How much do you think this is damage control for the conference?
I think it's a good point. Not something that I thought about. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I think a little bit, right? When your two biggest brands say like, hey man, we want nothing to do with you. And then your next, and people will argue, oh, UNC's a bigger, whatever, right? UNC don't want anything to do with them either. And I'm gonna tell you, just because Miami's not out there in the public, like I got sources at Miami and they've not had to disclose a lot of stuff because there's no sunshine law for a private school. They're right there with them. And let me tell you, North Carolina State's going with UNC and Virginia's trying to get out too. And don't be surprised if Cal and Stanford don't try to get somewhere private with the Big Ten, getting back with some rivalries and stuff. So anyway, all that said, for it to be if you got 10 kids and like your least favorite kid says like, I don't love you anymore. You're like, whatever. When your two favorite kids or your two like most important, your most successful, the most prestigious kids come to you and say like, hey man, we're going to literally take you to court because we don't care about you. Like that's a big deal. It's the prodigal son. It's exactly what it is. The prodigal son's like, nah, dog, I'd rather go slop with the pigs than be here in your house. And that's what Florida State and Clemson have done. And so, yeah, it's a terrible look for the ACC. Now, that doesn't even go into who's right. Is Florida State right? Is the ACC right? Did Florida State go about it like bad guys? Or is Clemson jerks? Maybe the ACC is right. Maybe Clemson and Florida State are jerks. Maybe, but it's still not a good look. No matter what, like, we typically blame symptoms, right? Oh, this guy ran around, chick ran around on her husband, but you never knew that he was beating her for 5 years or whatever, right? Like, yeah, it feels like Florida State's trying to cheat on the ACC, but they feel like they've been taking a beating for 10 years and not getting their just reward. So again, I've used a lot of comparisons there that some of them are probably out of bounds. Maybe the biblical one's okay, but no. I think that's what it feels like, right? And so is Florida State right in all this? I don't know. I mean, the ACC just moved pretty far off their perch to say that Florida State was right, but either way, it's not a good look for the ACC. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if the ACC does this or not without, mentioned damage control. I think ESPN had a pretty heavy hand in this. And I think ESPN was like, hey boys, you figure your crap out or I'm not extending you past the 2027 deadline. And that's why I think this happened so quickly with that ACC ESPN deadline is because the conference knew like, hey man, you guys got to get your crap together.